dedicate our lives ever more perfectly to Him, how will He find us?
Awake and ready.
Let's begin with a prayer. Heavenly Father,
Heavenly Father,
Divine Mother,
Divine Mother,
Friend, beloved God,
Friend, beloved God,
Gurus of self-realization,
Gurus of self-realization,
Lord Jesus Christ,
Lord Jesus Christ,
Krishna Babaji,
Krishna Babaji,
Lady Mahashaya,
Lady Mahashaya,
Swami Shri Yukteswarji,
Swami Shri Yukteswarji,
Guru Deva,
Gurudeva,
Paramahansa Yoganandaji,
Paramahansa Yoganandaji,
Saints and sages of all religions,
Saints and sages of all religions,
we invoke your blessing.
we invoke your blessing.
Help us to realize this day
Help us to realize this day
that we are living eternity,
that we are living eternity,
that we are nothing more than the tip of an iceberg.
that we are nothing more than the tip of an iceberg.
Through many times lives we have sought thee.
Through many lives we have sought thee.
Reveal thyself
Reveal thyself
in this lifetime.
in this lifetime.
Give us the determination
Give us the determination
to put forth the effort,
to put forth the
to
effort
draw your vision
to draw your vision
of immortality
of immortality
into our being.
into our beings.
Not your good.
Not your good,
We are your children.
we are your children.
Receive us.
Receive us.
Om.
Om.
Peace.
Peace.
Amen.
Amen.
Please be seated. And
Who is Sylvia? What is she? That all our swains command her. Holy, fair, and wise is she, that heaven such grace did lend her, that she might admired be, that she might admired be. Is she kind as she is fair? For beauty lives with kindness. To her eyes love doth repair, to help him of his blindness, and being helped inhabits there, and being helped inhabits there. Then to Sylvia let us sing, that Sylvia is excelling. She excels each mortal thing, upon the dull earth dwelling. To her let us garlands bring, to her let us garlands bring, to her let us garlands bring, to her let us garlands bring.
While remaining in this meditative state, listen to the quality of the week, which is truthfulness. Truthfulness is not caustic statements of unpleasant facts and unflattering opinions. Such statements are usually born of pride, but truthfulness is the effort always to say the divine truth behind appearances. It is the effort to express always that aspect of truth which may prove the most beneficial. Truthfulness as applied to ourselves means not to hide behind self-flattering justifications, to look honestly at our real motives for doing anything, and not to flinch before unpleasant realities in ourselves. Truthfulness means seeing things as they really are, but then looking more deeply for ways to improve those realities. Please affirm with me, first with a strong, energetic voice. Whatever is, simply is.
Whatever is, simply is.
I cannot change it for the mere wishing.
I cannot change it for the mere wishing.
Fearlessly therefore, I accept the truth,
Fearlessly, therefore, I accept the truth,
knowing that at the heart of everything,
knowing at the heart of everything,
God's truth is always good.
God's truth is always good.
Now with a normal, regular voice, whatever is, simply is.
Whatever is, simply is.
I cannot change it for the mere wishing.
I cannot change it for the mere wishing.
Fearlessly, therefore, I accept the truth,
Fearlessly, therefore, I accept the truth,
knowing that at the heart of everything,
knowing that at the heart of everything,
God's truth is always good.
God's truth is always good.
Now with a whisper, whatever is, simply is. I cannot change it for the mere wishing. Fearlessly, therefore, I accept the truth, knowing that at the heart of everything, God's truth is always good. Now only mentally repeat it. Whatever is, simply is. I cannot change it for the mere wishing. Fearlessly, therefore, I accept the truth, knowing that at the heart of everything, God's truth is always good. Please pray silently with me. Heavenly Father, I will not fear the truth, for I know that truth comes from Thee. Help me to see behind all appearances Thy smiling, all compassionate gaze. Om Peace. Ananda. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
My name is Dikshini, and this is my husband, Ram. And I'd like to read from our Release of the One Night commentaries on the Bible and the Bhagavad Gita by J. Donald Waters, Swami Ananda. This is week 22, the inner kingdom. Truth is one and eternal. Realize oneness with it in your deathless self within. The following commentary is based on the teachings of Paramahansa Yogananda. Most people imagine that the inner kingdom, as Jesus described it, lacks the fascination they attribute to sense life, the bright lights, the diverse attractions, the joys, and the laughter. Little do they realize what a vast universe exists in their own selves. There are many passages in the Old and New Testaments of the Bible that describe aspects of this inner kingdom. In the book of Genesis we read, "And the Lord God planted a garden eastward in Eden, and the tree of life also in the midst of the garden, and the tree of knowledge of good and evil." This garden was in no earthly place. It exists even now, in the very self of every human being. The legend of Adam and Eve is allegorical. It describes how the first human beings dissipated their spiritual energy centered in the spine. The spine is the channel through which flows the river of baptism and the spiritual life. The Bhagavad Gita tells us, "The wise speak of an eternal Ashwatha tree with its roots above and its branches below." The tree of life spoken of also in Genesis is the spine. Its roots are above in the brain's energy. Its branches are the outward spreading nervous system. When the sap, which is to say the energy, flows downward, the consciousness is drawn into delusion. On the other hand, when the energy is drawn upward in deep meditation, the consciousness is drawn toward its eternal source, God, and is at last united with Him. Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita therefore urges his chief disciple Arjuna to embrace the yoga science, the path of meditation. The yogi, he says, is greater than the ascetic, greater even than the followers of the path of wisdom, jnana yoga, or of action, karma yoga. Be thou, O Arjuna, a yogi. For those who would find the divine truth, Krishna gives the description of the yogi. Steadfast a lamp burns, sheltered from the wind, steadfastly meditating, solitary, such is the lightness of the yogi's mind, shut from sense storms and burning bright to heaven. Thus, through Holy Scripture, God has spoken to mankind.
I'd like to read from Whispers from Eternity. This is a book of poems that Yogananda wrote, and we read from this every Sunday. My soul submarine is searching for thee. I found myself suffocating in the dark vapors of worldly ambition as my vessel sailed over life's seas. Fearful of dying in delusion, I sought out and boarded the submarine of deep dedication. This is such a beautiful poem. I'll start from the beginning. I don't know if you can relate to this. I should. I found myself suffocating in the dark vapors of worldly ambitions as my vessel sailed over life's seas. Fearful of dying in delusion, I sought out and boarded the submarine of deep dedication and dove deep into my inner self. In the silent depths of thy consciousness, I saw at first shimmering before me a light which spoke to me of fulfillments never before dreamed of. Diving deeper still, the submarine of my mind moved into astral seas so rarely plumbed in search of thee. Suddenly, probing with searchlight vision, my soul submarine found itself in a new universe. I was surrounded on all sides by mystic flaming radiance. Overwhelmed by this supernal blessing, I beheld and reveled in thy presence everywhere. This is such a thrilling book. If you don't have a copy of Whispers from Eternity, you should get one. Copy it off the internet. Buy a copy here, but get a copy. Because it says, Yogananda said, when I'm gone, I will eternally whisper through these pages to you. And this particular one is quite poignant. The other day, my wife and I, Dikshini, we were walking on the beach in Santa Monica, and I looked down, and there was a butterfly moth, a giant butterfly moth, stuck in the sand at the beach. I couldn't believe it. I said, "What?" I said to the butterfly moth, "What are you doing stuck in the sand here?" I looked at the waves. Don't you see that the waves are coming to take you away? And the butterfly moth said to me, "I don't want to be stuck here. I'm just stuck." So I leaned down and put my finger right next to the moth, and it climbed up onto my finger. And I said, "Sweetheart, look, there's a butterfly moth here." And so I took her over took the moth over to Dikshini. She said, "Yeah, wow, that's amazing. It's not flying away." So I thought, well, you're certainly not laying eggs for grunion here at the beach. I better take you across the sands and put you back over on dry land where the bushes are, so that you can propagate normally, not in the sand. So I walked across at least 200 yards, Santa Monica Beach. I said, "Why beach?" And he was pruning himself with his little paws. I gotta get my hands free. Pruning himself with one paw, and pruning himself with the other paw, and then licking himself with his little, I don't even know what those are called. Those little curly cute tongues that come out. He was licking himself, then he felt the heat of the sand, and he started fluttering his wings, and oh, that feels good. He was drying himself out in the sand. And here I'm walking like 300 yards across the sand to the boardwalk. I mean, it's not boardwalk, but the walkway. Where finally there's vegetation where a moth can survive. And I just laid him there, and he said, okay, thank you. And I went back to pick up Dikshini, who was slowly walking across the sands. And I was just marveling at the beauty of God's manifestation, because everything is a part of that reality. And if we receive it with that consciousness, there's undreamed of possibilities. In Yogananda's autobiography of a yogi, Carl Jung, the famous psychologist, he said, when you come to the teachings of yoga, they're undreamed of possibilities. And Yogananda, he was having that experience in Whispers from Eternity. I mean, he's writing that poem out of the experience of him having this divine vision. So he's going into himself, and the light of God is telling him, if you follow me, there will be dreams that you've never even thought of manifesting in your life that I'll give to you. And that is the beauty of the spiritual path. That's why we're here, seeking the reality of our own self, is to understand that we're here for a purpose. And that purpose is to find God, our true nature. There was a beautiful Facebook reading that came out the other day. It was a live presentation of the founder of Facebook, Mark Zuckerberg. He was at Harvard. I don't know if you saw it, but it was during the day. It was at the Harvard Law School graduation. And he was the keynote speaker, and he was just talking about in his talk the importance of finding purpose. It's not necessarily to make $1 billion like he did, but is to find a purpose in your life and to help other people to find their purpose. And I was thinking, well, this is Yogananda's teaching. Because we're all here. I remember as a kid growing up here in LA, my one statement that I would repeat often with my friends, but what is the meaning behind this? What is the purpose of money? Can't we live without it? There has to be a higher purpose and meaning to life. Not just making money, going to work and making money and having kids and so forth. What is the real purpose behind our existence? We have cats. We have feral cats in our home. And our Tuxie girl is our breeder. She hasn't been able to, she's eluded the trap. And so she continues to breed. And how many rounds is this? My wife comes out in the morning. Oh, sweetheart, come quickly. She brought her new brood. There's 6 of them now. How many rounds is this?
6. No, it's the 3rd for her.
And so my duty, of course, as the noble citizen, is to get the traps and try to catch these little guys and neuter and spade them, so we can abide by the rules, the law. Because if we don't, the 10 million cats we have in LA right now will continue to breed into 30 million. We don't have any rat problems anymore, that's for sure. But it's amazing how, Mother Nature, how she manifests, and how the cats, they're so sweet, these little puffballs. She brought them she brings them, this was her first day, she brought them to the house. Because she had them hidden in the alley somewhere, and but this is where they come and eat. And my wife, Dikshini, she's very adamant on feeding them twice a day, and even 3 times a day, depending on their demands. Because we're tuned into them telepathically, and we're tuned into their sweetness and their love. And Dikshini says, "Oh, I love you so much. Why don't you bring your babies? When are you going to bring your babies?" She said this yesterday, and she brought the babies in today. It was really quite marvelous. This telepathic communication is a part of our nature as human beings and as animals or as insects or even plants. This telepathic communication is always going on, whether we know it or not. A lot of times, we tend to telepathically communicate the negative. And we tend to get wrapped up in all the problems and the difficulties and so forth and so on. But if we can keep our hearts open and pure, what did Jesus say? Jesus said, "Blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see God." And really, we're living in a time where we can experience God on a daily basis. That miracles happen daily. The fact that you're breathing right now and are here, there's 7 billion people on this planet, and how many are we in this room? 15 people. This is not perchance. You were guided here today by a great reality so that you can reinforce within yourself who you are on the deepest level. And this ability to communicate telepathically is our natural God's born gift, especially for this age that we're living in. Dwapara Yuga, the age which the yogis call the age of energy, was started in 1899. And Sri Yukteswar, in his book, The Holy Science, he wrote the book in 1896. And he said, in the next 100 years, this entire planet will be transformed. Why? Because we're moving from the age of materialism, or Kali Yuga, into the age of Dwapara Yuga. And in this age of energy, Dwapara, the spiritual faculties of telepathic communication will be developed. And it's really quite amazing how when you think of a friend, they could be on the other side of the world, and all of a sudden you get a text message from them, or they say something to you on Facebook. I had a friend who died recently. He was my high school, college friend, a college buddy. We went to Cal Berkeley together, and I was a football player. He was a political science major going for his master's. But we had this affinity around films. And so we would go to Fellini films at the film archive at Berkeley. And he was taking this film class, and so he had the assignment to actually write a script, produce, and direct a film. And so the first film that I ever was in was this film that he produced about, it was terrible, senseless violence. If you've seen the Kubrick, A Clockwork Orange, you have an idea. It had just come out. And so he was inspired to do this crazy 10-minute flick, short film. Anyway, he passed away recently. And he was in Thailand. He was teaching English in Thailand. And he became very sick. He had, the doctors there diagnosed him with bladder cancer. And he was lucky that he didn't die there. His brother, who was a medical doctor with Blue Cross Blue Shield as an administrator, flew over to him and brought him back. And I sort of intuitively knew that something was wrong with him. And then he called me. "Well, I'm back, man. I'm here. I'm in the valley. I'm in the hospital." I said, "Oh my gosh, what's wrong?" knew something was, and sure enough, he told me he had the bladder cancer, and I went by and saw him, and I said to him, listen, you'll be all right, even if you have to transition. I gave him a prayer of Yogananda's. I said, listen, just use this as your mantra. God is within and all around me. Just repeat after me. God is within and all around me, protecting me. So I will banish the fear. That shuts out his guiding light. I said, Tony, use this as your prayer. I don't know if he used it as his prayer or not. I didn't see him again after that. Was in touch with his family, but he died within a week of me giving him that prayer. And you know, life cannot die. Yesterday, I had a cousin of mine who was driving up to Northern California, and it's unknown what happened, but she was in an accident, and her daughter died in that crash yesterday. And the family has been praying and so forth for Patrice Howard. It's a fine line between this world and the other world, a very fine line. And we don't know what our karma is when we walk out this door today. But we do know that we have a consciousness, and if we can develop the consciousness of eternity, of understanding that you are that tree of life that never dies. In the Indian scriptures, they call it the Ashwatha tree, with its roots above, if you have hair, with the roots above, and the boughs below. So the roots are really, is here at the top of the head. In that, the roots are called the Sahaswara, the 1,000-petal lotus. It's a point in which you attain your enlightenment. Yogananda, in his poem, Samadhi, he says, vanish the veils of light and shade, lifted every vapor of sorrow, sailed away all dawns of fleeting joy, gone the dim sensory mirage. And he goes on in his poem Samadhi, talking about his oneness with all creation, that he begins to see the sap flowing in the trees. He begins to see the worms under the earth. He sees all life as a part of his mental sea of eternity. That Samadhi is a part of you right now. That Samadhi is your purpose of being, is living in the thought of oneness with the little kittens, with the puppies that you see walking down the street if you don't have one yourself. My wife, she absolutely goes crazy in Samadhi when she sees puppies. Talking about joyful, it doesn't matter what argument that we've gone through, she sees a puppy. Oh, puppy! And that's the beauty of life, is to be excited and be joyful, and because all that happiness and joy is an expression of our higher self. In the poem that Yogananda wrote to Brahmanandam, which we don't sing, the version that's in our songbook is written by Taramata. It's a translation by Taramata, and I discussed that with Swamiji, but he declined to make a response. But we sing it at home. It's in the original Whispers from Eternity. And how does it go, sweetheart?
We have to sing
Bearing the bliss of Brahma, happiness supreme. I just love that expression, happiness supreme. It's like you see your puppy every moment. Free as the soaring sky, nor of all there is to be known. Thou perennial taintless one, witness of all things happening. You know, when you're walking down the beach and you see a little moth with its tail stuck in the sand, or you see a little puppy or a cat or whatever, you know, it could be someone who's homeless and you know, just laying there. What, you know, ask the Divine Mother inside of you, what can I do to bring happiness supreme to this person? Well, they're hungry. Well, let me go in this store, this 7-Eleven, and buy this person a sandwich, a turkey sandwich. I don't know if they're a vegetarian or not, perhaps not, so let me give them turkey. It's not going to kill them. And so you go in and you come out with a turkey sandwich and says, hey man, you okay? Here's a turkey sandwich. Cool, far out. Home. Actions without the fruit of your action. Just simply offering it to those in need. This world, Master said, God is sharing with God. That's the nature of this drama. In this vehicle that we have, we call, this is the tree of life right here. I'm a salesman and I sell these little pendants of little trees. Yeah, is that one that you have there? Is that a tree on your pendant? Or is that an ohm? I can't tell. But I sell pendants all over to metaphysical stores and gift shops and so forth. The little trees of life. Well, this is the tree of life. You are the tree of life. And your purpose, with its roots above and its boughs below, is to attain your enlightenment. I wanted to read from Autobiography of a Yogi. This is a passage that Yogananda talks about the tree of life and with his guru Sri Yukteswar. And Genesis is deeply symbolic and cannot be grasped by literal interpretations. Its tree of life is the human body. Wow. I was talking with my born-again Christian friends, my cousin recently, who is a minister. And I was telling him, you know, I represent the tradition of the 3 wise men who came to Jesus by following the inner star in the east. If you take a star over LA tonight, that same star is over San Diego or Santa Barbara. This inner star is a reality of every human being. Boy, they just could not grasp that this was a new interpretation of the Bible and so forth. But here, its tree of life is the human body. The spinal cord is like an upturned tree with man's hair, whether you have them, as its roots, and afferent nerves. We have nerves in our brain as branches. The tree of the nervous system bears many enjoyable fruits, sensations of sight, sound, smell, taste, and touch. In these man may rightfully indulge, but he was forbidden. In these man may rightfully indulge, but he was forbidden the experience of sex. Now this gets a bit touchy here. But I'm just reading out of the autobiography, I'm not making this up. But he was forbidden to experience sex, the apple at the center of the bodily garden. The serpent represents the coiled up spinal energy which stimulates the sex nerves. Adam is reason, Eve is symbolic of feeling. When the emotion or Eve consciousness in any human being is overpowered by the sex impulse, his reason or Adam also succumbs. God created the human species by materializing the bodies of man and woman through the force of his will. He endowed this new species with the power to create children in a similar, immaculate, or divine manner. Because his manifestation in individualized soul had hitherto been limited to animals, instincts, and lacking the potentiality of full reason, God made the first human bodies, symbolically called Adam and Eve. To these, the advantageous upward evolution, he transferred the souls of divine essence of two animals in Adam and Eve, and thus was expressed the duality or polarity which underlines the phenomenal world. Reason and feeling remain in a heaven of cooperative joy, so long as the human mind is not tricked by the serpentine energy of animal propensities. It goes on and on and on. The human body was therefore not solely a result of evolution from beasts, but was produced by an act of special creation by God. The animal forms were too crude to express full divinity. The human beings were uniquely given a tremendous mental capacity, the 1,000-petaled lotus of the brain, as well as acutely awakened occult centers, the chakras in the spine. God, or the divine consciousness, presents within the first created pair, counseled them to enjoy all human sensibilities, but not to put their concentration on touch sensations. He goes on and on. These were banned in order to avoid the development of sex organs, which would enmesh humanity into inferior animal methods of procreation. The warning not to revive subconsciously present bestial memories was not heeded, resuming the way of brute procreation. Adam and Eve fell from the state of heavenly joy, natural to the original perfect man. Knowledge of good and evil refers to the cosmic duality compulsion, falling away the sway of Maya through misuse of their feeling and reason. O Eve, or Eve and Adam consciousness, man relinquishes his right to enter the heavenly garden of divine self-sufficiency. The personal responsibility of every human being is to restore his parents, or dual nature, to a unified harmony of Eden. Swami Sri Teswar ended his discourse, glanced with new respect at the pages of Genesis. Dear Master, I said, for the first time I feel a proper filial obligation toward Adam and Eve. Thus ends that chapter. It's a very interesting, and it's a point of discussion. That will we'll have to have it a later date. But it's essentially what he was talking about was, in the beginning, the first human beings had the ability to create with their minds. A woman and a man were manifesting children through the energy and consciousness of their own minds. And so it's an interesting thing. So immaculate conception, he's saying yes, there was that, and still can be. I'd like to close with a song about this tree of life that we call our spine. And it's a song written by Yogananda. It's called the Om Song. And I'll just sing it a cappella because it's a description of your evolution as a tree of life. What is your daughter's name?
Ayla.
Ayla. You didn't know you were a tree, did you?
Ayla means turbid tree, which is tree of life.
Yeah.
So.
I always tell people I'm a natural born tree hugger. But this song talks about the living tree of cosmic consciousness that dwells in us, and gives us a beautiful description of your journey of one day becoming that, awakened to that living tree, just as the jacarandas are blooming in LA this morning. It's a glorious presence in this city. This is the Om song that Yogananda wrote. Winsome this soundless roar doth come, when dross matter's dreary drum. On shores of bliss, on bursting breaks, all earth, all heaven, all body shake. The bumblebee now hums along, baby Om now softly sing its song. With Krishna's flute the call is sweet. 'Tis time the watery god to meet. Cords bound to flesh are broken all. Vibrations burst and meteors fall. The hustling heart, the boasting breath, no more shall cause the yogi's death. The god of fire with fervor sings, Om Om, his joyous harp now rings. With prana god, with power sound, the wondrous bells the soul resounds. All nature lies in darkness soft, the star divine is seen aloft. Subconscious dreams have gone to bed, 'tis then that one does hear Om's tread. Oh, upward climb the living tree, hark to the cosmic symphony. From Om, this soundless roar from Om, the path of light or dark to roam. Om, Om, the music of the spheres, from Om, the mists of nature's tears. All things of earth and heaven declare, Om, Om, resounding everywhere. Let's chant Om together. Again. One last time. In this tree of life, you are that fruit of the divine vibration of Om. From the bumblebee, to the flute, to the harp, to the bells, to the wind, to the ocean sound of Om. This is your reality. This is your tree of life to which you are to be born again. God bless you.
How shall I love thee, Lord my God, with every breath I breathe? How shall I love thee, Lord my God, with every breath I breathe? Just as a fire may burn a whole forest, turn to the root my desire. Just as a fire may burn a whole forest, turn to the root my desire. How shall I serve thee, Lord my God, with every breath I breathe? How shall I serve thee, Lord my God, with every breath I breathe? How shall I love thee, Lord my God, with every breath I breathe? How shall I worship thee, Lord my God, with